You see this cage? The one you think you're living in? It's not built by the world, it's built by your thoughts, by your fear, by your doubt. You think someone locked you in, but the truth is, you locked yourself in. And the worst part, you're holding the key, but you're too afraid to use it. Most people never escape, not because the door is locked, but because they're too comfortable suffering in silence. They confuse pain with purpose. They wear their chains like jewelry and call it identity. But deep down, they know something's wrong. They know they were meant for more. Today, I'm going to show you how to break free. 7 lessons, 7 strikes to smash the chains in your head. Listen carefully, because this is not a game. Your freedom depends on it. 1. Stop worshiping your thoughts. They're not all true. Most people live as if every single thought that passes through their mind is a fact. But that's not true. Just because you think something doesn't mean it's real. Your mind is like a river. When it's calm, it reflects things clearly. But when it's disturbed by stress, fear, anger, or insecurity, it becomes cloudy and chaotic. In those moments, your thoughts can deceive you. They'll whisper lies like, "You're not good enough. You'll never succeed. No one cares about you." But those are not facts. They're just emotional reactions, temporary illusions shaped by your current mood or past pain. Think of your thoughts like clouds in the sky. They come and go. Some are dark and heavy, others light and passing. But none of them define you unless you hold on to them. The problem is, we often don't question what our mind says. We believe it instantly. And when you blindly believe negative thoughts, you give them power they don't deserve. Instead, learn to observe your mind like a quiet witness. When a thought appears, pause and ask, is this true? Is this helpful? Or is this just fear talking? When you create space between your thoughts and your belief in them, something incredible happens. You begin to take back control. Real freedom doesn't begin when your mind is empty. It begins when you stop being a slave to it. When you realize you are not your thoughts, you are the awareness behind them. And once you stop worshiping every idea that pops into your head, you'll finally start to see clearly. You'll feel lighter. You'll stop being pulled in 100 directions. And you'll begin to live not in reaction, but in peace. 2. Pain is real, but suffering is a choice. Listen to me very careful, because this may be one of the most important truths you ever hear. Pain is part of life. You will be hurt. People will betray you. Life will disappoint you. Sometimes your body will break, and sometimes it will be your heart. That's not weakness. That's being human. But here's what most people don't understand. Pain is temporary, but suffering, that's something the mind chooses to keep alive. You see, pain is what happens when something actually hurts. Your body is injured. Your heart is broken. Someone dies. Something ends. That moment, that sting, that's real. But what happens after that when you keep replaying the moment in your head again and again? When you imagine what could have happened, what should have happened? When you torture yourself with what ifs and why me? That's suffering. And that part is mental. It's a loop you trap yourself in. The world may wound you once, but if you're not careful, your mind will wound you 1,000 times more. When I injured my back during training, the doctors told me I might never kick again. That was pain. But what I didn't do was sit around asking, why me? I didn't curse the universe. I didn't drown myself in bitterness. I got up, I studied, I trained my mind. I rebuilt myself. Not because I didn't feel the pain, but because I refused to become its prisoner. Most people spend their lives locked in that prison. Something bad happens to them 10 years ago, and they still think about it every night. Someone said something cruel to them once, and they still hear that voice every time they try something new. That's not living. That's self-inflicted suffering. That's a cage made out of memory. You cannot stop pain, but you can stop feeding it with your attention. Every time you relive it in your mind, you keep it alive. But if you learn to feel the pain truly feel it and let it pass, like a storm moving across the sky, it will leave you. And in its place, you will find something more powerful than comfort. You will find growth. You will find strength. You will find you. So when life hurts, feel the pain. Don't hide from it. Don't pretend you're fine, but don't pitch a tent in it either. Don't live there. Let it pass. And when it does, rise. Because suffering isn't something life gives you. It's something you choose to carry. And you have the power to put it down today. 3. Your mind is a tool, not a master. You have been given one of the most powerful weapons in the universe, your mind. It can imagine entire worlds. It can solve impossible problems. It can rebuild you after you've been broken. But there's a hidden danger most people never see. When you forget that your mind is a tool and you start letting it run the show, it becomes a trap. The sword is only useful when it's in the hands of the warrior. But imagine giving a sword to a child who doesn't know how to hold eyes, more likely to hurt himself than protect himself. That's what happens when you let your untrained mind control your life. It starts cutting you down from the inside. Your mind is supposed to serve you. It is supposed to obey you. But most people, they're living like their mind is the king and they're just the servant. They wake up and immediately get hit by thoughts like, I'm not good enough. I'll probably fail. Nothing ever works out for me. And they listen. They believe it. They obey it without even questioning. You wouldn't let a stranger walk into your house and insult you every day. So why do you let your mind do it? This is the problem. We were never taught how to manage our thoughts. We go to school for math, for science, for history, but no one teaches us how to sit with our own mind, how to lead it, how to calm it. So the mind becomes loud, reactive, fearful, and we call that normal. But that's not normal. That's chaos. Let me tell you something I live by. The mind is like a wild horse. Left untamed, it will throw you off and drag you through the dirt. But if you train it, it will carry you anywhere. You must train your mind daily, just like your body. You must learn to observe your thoughts without getting pulled into them. Learn to sit in silence and breathe through the noise. Learn to choose what you think, like choosing the tools for a mission. If a thought weakens you, discard it. If it strengthens you, sharpen it. You can't control what thoughts pop up, but you can control which ones you feed. The moment you stop identifying with every emotion, every judgment, every story your mind throws at you, you step into a new kind of freedom. You stop reacting. You start responding. You become calm, not because life is easy, but because you are in command now. And when you take back the reins of your mind, you stop being a prisoner. You become a master, not of the world, but of yourself. And there is no greater power than that. 4. Fear is a thief. Confront it or be robbed forever. Let's talk about fear. Not the kind that keeps you from touching fire or walking off a cliff. That fear is useful. That fear protects you. I'm talking about the silent fear, the one that lives in the back of your mind, the one that whispers in your ear every time you want to take a risk, speak your truth, or chase your dream. That kind of fear is not your protector. It's your prison guard. Fear is a liar, dressed in concern. It doesn't scream, it whispers. It says, what if you fail? What will they think? You're not ready. And before you know it, you're standing still, watching life move past you, paralyzed, not by chains, not by force, but by your own imagination. And that's the most dangerous part. Fear doesn't take your life all at once. It steals it, one hesitation at a time, one opportunity avoided, one dream delayed, one step never taken. You don't even notice it at first. But then one day, you look around and realize you're still in the same place you were 5 years ago. Same job, same thoughts, same doubts, same walls. And you wonder, how did I get stuck? You didn't get stuck. You got robbed. Fear robbed you of your momentum, your courage, your evolution. You see, fear doesn't just make you small, it convinces you that small is safe, that staying in your comfort zone is smart, that doing less is wise, that waiting until you feel ready is the responsible thing to do. But let me tell you something. You will never feel fully ready. You will never feel fearless before you leap. The readiness comes after the action. The courage is born in the doing. When I first came to America, people told me, "You have an accent. You're not tall enough. You're not white. You'll never be a star." And I could have believed them. I could have let fear win. I could have stayed quiet, stayed behind, stayed invisible. But I didn't. Why? Because I understood something most people never learn. Fear is not a wall, it's a shadow. And when you shine the light of action on it, it disappears. That's what you must do. Don't run from fear. Don't avoid it. Walk into it. Face it with your eyes wide open and your heart steady. Say to it, "I see you, but you don't own me." And then move anyway. Because once you act in spite of fear, once you prove to yourself that you are stronger than the illusion, it loses its power forever. You begin to realize the things you were afraid of were never the enemy. Your avoidance was. Your silence was. Your hesitation was. And the longer you let fear sit at the head of the table, the more it eats away at your life. So confront it now, while you still have time. Because if you don't, fear will rob you of the life you were meant to live. It will steal your voice, your talent, your relationships, your freedom. Not because it's stronger than you, but because you gave it permission. Don't do that. Take your power back. Because once you stop running from fear, you become unshakable. You become dangerous in the best way. And the prison door that fear locked you behind, you'll realize it was always open. 5. Stillness is power silence your inner noise. There is a war going on inside most people, but they don't even see it. It's not a war fought with fists or fire, but with thoughts, restlessness, and distraction. A war of noise. Not noise from the world, but noise from within. The modern mind has become a battlefield, and the weapon being used against you is constant mental activity. You wake up and your mind is already spinning. A to-do list, a regret, a fear, a conversation you had 3 years ago, a plan for tomorrow, a judgment about yourself, a comparison to someone you've never even met, thought after thought, emotion after emotion, a storm that never stops. Most people don't know how to stop it. They try to distract themselves. They reach for their phone. They scroll. They numb. They keep busy. They surround themselves with stimulation. Why? Because silence makes them uncomfortable. Stillness feels threatening. They've been taught that productivity means movement and that resting the mind is laziness. But I'll tell you something most will never understand. Stillness is not weakness. It is not emptiness. It is not doing nothing. Stillness is the space where you reclaim your power. It is in stillness that you meet yourself, the real you. Not the identity you've built, not the version others told you to be, but the awareness beneath all of it. The you that observes without judgment. The you that doesn't react, but chooses. The you that isn't tossed around by every wave of thought, but stands calmly beneath the surface. Most people live entirely on the surface of their mind. They're dragged from one thought to the next like leaves in the wind. They believe they are their thoughts. They never learn to pause, to breathe, to center themselves. So they live in reaction, always tense, always tired, always reaching. But not you. Not anymore. Because the moment you realize you can witness your thoughts instead of drowning in them, you begin to rise. You begin to notice that the storm was never the problem. The problem was your habit of stepping into it every time it came. Stillness doesn't mean there are no waves. It means you found the anchor beneath them. When I train, I don't just train my body. I train my breath. I train my silence. I sit alone, without distraction, and I watch what rises, not to fight it, not to fix it, but to understand it. Because understanding creates mastery, and mastery creates peace. A man who knows how to be still, how to rest in his own presence without needing noise, applause, or distraction. That man is dangerous. Not because he's violent, but because he's unshakable. He is not pulled by impulse. He is not baited by drama. He moves with intention. He speaks with clarity. He acts with power. This is the kind of inner strength you build in silence, not in front of an audience, not on social media, but in quiet moments, when you face yourself, when you calm your breath, when you allow the chaos in your mind to dissolve like mist under the morning sun. Most people avoid stillness because they're afraid of what they'll hear when everything else goes quiet. But that's exactly why they need it. The noise was never protecting you. It was only keeping you from knowing who you really are. So take time each day to step away from the noise, turn off the world, sit, breathe, listen, not to the world, but to the quiet voice within the one that's always been there, beneath the thoughts, beneath the fear, beneath the labels. That voice is not frantic. It's not fearful. It's steady. It's pure. And it's powerful. When you silence the chaos, you will hear the truth. And the truth will make you still, not empty, but full. Full of clarity, full of focus, full of power. And that kind of stillness, that's not just peace. That's freedom. 6. Identity is a mask, burn it. Let me ask you something. Who are you really? Not your name, not your job title, not your story. I'm asking, who are you beneath it all? Because if you hesitate to answer, if you feel even a flicker of doubt or confusion, then you are still wearing the mask. And most people are. They wear it every single day. They wake up and put on an identity that was given to them, not chosen. They become who their parents wanted them to be, who their society expected, who their past demanded. But that's not you. That's a costume, a disguise, a mask you've been wearing for so long that you've forgotten it isn't your skin. When I first began my journey, I had to burn mine because the world had already created one for me. You're Asian. You're a martial artist. You're short. You're foreign. You're not leading man material. These weren't just opinions. They were boxes people tried to keep me in. But I refused. I refused to play a character in someone else's movie. I refused to repeat the lines they wrote for me. I knew deep down that I was more than what they saw, more than what they labeled. And so I tore off the mask, piece by piece. And every time I did, I felt freer, clearer, more alive. You see, the mask you wear may feel safe. It may feel familiar. But that safety comes at a cost. Because every time you play a role just to be accepted, every time you shrink yourself to fit in, Every time you agree just to avoid conflict, you betray your true self. And over time, that betrayal creates pain. Quiet pain. The kind that builds in the background of your life and leaves you wondering why you feel empty, even when everything looks fine on the outside. People say, "This is just who I am." But what they really mean is, "This is who I became in order to survive." They confuse trauma for identity. They confuse habits for personality. But survival mode is not your true nature. It's a response, not a destiny. Your true self existed long before the world taught you who to be. It existed before you were wounded, before you were shamed, before you learned to pretend. That self is still the resilient, waiting, watching. But it can't come forward until you make space for it, until you let go of who you think you are. And I know it's not easy. It's terrifying, because the mask has become your comfort. It gives you something to hide behind. But the truth is, as long as you're wearing it, you will never truly feel love. Because no one can love the real you if you keep hiding it. You will never find your purpose, because your mask is chasing goals that don't belong to your soul, and you will never be free. Because the prison is not the world, it's the character you're pretending to be. So you must burn it, not out of hate, but out of love. Love for the real you. The one who doesn't need permission to exist. The one who doesn't seek validation. The one who is whole, even with scars. That version of you is not fragile. It is not broken. It is not weak. It is powerful, focused, and alive. And once you meet it, truly meet it, you'll never go back to pretending again. I'm not saying you should forget your past. I'm saying you should stop letting it define your present. Every experience you've lived through may have shaped you, but it does not own you. You are not your childhood. You are not your trauma. You are not your reputation. You are not your mistakes. Those are chapters. They are not the title of your book. And the more you cling to the mask, the more you try to be someone for others, the more exhausted you will become. Because pretending drains your energy. Authenticity energizes it. When you are true to yourself, you don't have to remember what to say. You don't have to keep up an act. You don't have to impress. You just live boldly, freely, and fully. So I say this with love, let it fall. Let the image go. Let the need to please die. Let the old version of yourself burn to ashes. Not because it was wrong, but because it's time to evolve. Just as the snake sheds its skin, just as the phoenix rises from fire, so too must you shed the false identity you've carried for far too long. And once you do, once you finally stand without the mask, you will feel something you may not have felt in years. Peace. Peace with who you are. Peace with where you've been, and peace with where you're going. You were never meant to be a copy of someone else's expectations. You were meant to be you. Now go remember who that is. 7. Action is the only way out. There comes a point when you must stop thinking, stop planning, stop doubting, and just move. Too many people are trapped not because of the obstacles around them, but because of the chains they've built in their own mind through endless hesitation. They talk about change. They dream about freedom. They read books, watch videos, take notes. They fill their heads with knowledge, but their life stays the same because they never apply it. They sit and wait for the perfect moment, the perfect mood, the perfect plan. But let me tell you something I've learned through every fight, every failure, every scar. There is no perfect moment. There is only now. And if you don't move now, if you don't act in the face of fear, in the presence of doubt, then you never will. People ask me how I became strong, how I broke into an industry that didn't want me, how I transformed rejection into recognition. The answer is simple: I acted. I didn't wait to be approved. I didn't wait to be invited. I didn't wait until I felt ready. I trained when no one was watching. I created when no one believed. I built when others said it was impossible. I moved forward while others stood still, paralyzed by what ifs and maybes, because I understood something most people never realize. The door to freedom will never open for you. You must kick it down with action. Action is the great transformer. It doesn't just change your circumstances, it changes you. When you move, you discover strength you didn't know you had. When you take the first step, your confidence begins to rise. And when you push through resistance, you build resilience. You learn more from doing than you ever will from thinking. You grow more in failure than you ever will in fantasy. No matter how much you study, nothing will ever replace the wisdom that comes from experience. So don't wait until you feel fearless, because courage is not the absence of fear, it's the willingness to move with fear. You don't need to know the whole path. You only need to take the first step, again and again, until the path reveals itself beneath your feet. Your mind will try to keep you safe by keeping you still. It will say, let's wait until we're more prepared. It will say, what if we fail? It will say, we're not like them. But that voice is not your ally. It is your anchor. It will drag you down while convincing you that it's helping. You must rise above it. You must say to yourself, I will no longer be a prisoner of overthinking. I will no longer live in the future. I will create my freedom through action now, because action has no equal. No amount of therapy, reading, coaching, or journaling will replace what you will learn in the fire of doing. It is not the idea that changes you, it's the execution of it. Think of the greatest warriors, the greatest artists, the greatest innovators. They were not flawless. They were not always the smartest, the fastest, the strongest, but they were willing to fail publicly, willing to try without guarantees, willing to show up again and again, even when it was uncomfortable. That willingness, that discipline to act when it's hard, when it's messy, when it's unclear, that is what separates the free from the frustrated, the fulfilled from the forgotten, the doers from the dreamers. When you don't act, you get stuck in your mind. You begin to believe the lies it tells you, that your best days are behind you, that it's too late, that you've missed your chance. But those are illusions, mental ghosts. The only way to silence them is to move. Even a small step disrupts the cycle. Even a tiny action can shift your momentum. One workout, one honest conversation, 1 hour of deep work, one decision to walk away from what no longer serves you. You don't have to climb the whole mountain today. You just have to stop standing still. Let me be clear, in action is also a choice, but it is the choice that slowly kills your spirit. Every day you wait, your fire dims a little more. Your clarity fades. Your confidence weakens. And one day, if you're not careful, you'll look back with regret, not over what you did, but over all the chances you never took. And by then, it's not just your dreams that are gone, it's a piece of who you were meant to become. So act now, not recklessly, but with purpose. Not perfectly, but with persistence. Use what you have, where you are. Stop asking for permission. Stop waiting for someone to believe in you. Be the one who moves first, who dares first, who leads first. Because life will not wait for you, and time does not care about your excuses. Action is your only ally. Movement is your only freedom. Discipline is your only doorway. Burn the hesitation, shatter the doubt, and take the first step. Because nothing changes until you move. And once you move, once you commit to action, you'll begin to see something powerful The walls you thought were holding you in were never real. They were built in your mind. And the key to escaping them has been in your hands this entire time. Moving to unlock yourself. Let me leave you with this. The most dangerous prison is the one you can't see. It doesn't have walls. It doesn't have bars. It lives in your head. It's built from your past, your fears, your self-doubt, and all the lies you've been told and believed. And if you're not careful, you will live your entire life inside it, chained, not by the world, but by your own hesitation to break free. I've seen people with more talent than me live small because they were afraid to be seen. I've watched strong men crumble because they never learned to control their emotions. I've seen beautiful souls burn out, not because the world was too hard, but because they never escaped the stories in their head that told them they weren't enough. And I will tell you this with complete certainty: you do not get to live twice. This is it. Right now, this moment. You cannot waste it living as a prisoner of thoughts you didn't even choose. The truth is, freedom isn't found out there. It begins in here. In the quiet decision to reclaim your mind. In the brave choice to face your fear. In the powerful moment when you stop running from your pain and start rising through it. You do not need to have all the answers. You just need to stop worshiping every thought. Stop allowing fear to rob your future. Stop wearing masks that were never meant to fit. And most importantly, stop standing still. Life is motion. Growth is motion. Power is motion. You cannot think your way into freedom. You must act your way into it. Do not wait for permission. Do not wait for applause. Do not wait for the perfect mood or for fear to disappear. It won't. The mind will resist. The world will distract. And doubt will visit you again and again. But you must move anyway, not with perfection, but with persistence, not with noise, but with purpose. And as you move, something incredible happens. You begin to feel yourself waking up, not to the world, but to yourself. You begin to sense the fire that has been waiting in your chest, buried under years of silence. You begin to remember that you were never weak. You were never lost. You were simply disconnected from your truth. That truth is this: you were not born to be a prisoner of your own mind. You were born to master it. And when you Dowen, you finally stop living in your thoughts and start living from your awareness. You become a force, a presence, a creator. The cage dissolves, the chains fall, and the same mind that once held you captive becomes your greatest weapon. So I say to you, from one warrior to another, wake up. Wake up to the illusion. Wake up to your potential. Wake up to your power. The door has always been open. You just need to walk through it. Don't wait until it's too late. Don't die with your freedom still locked inside you. Break the walls. Burn the mask. Confront the fear. And live not in the shadow of who you could have been, but in the full fire of who you already are. That is the real victory. That is the escape. And that is the way of the warrior.